You're watching Detroit's own WHPR TV. Detroit Live.
Tamla Morris Brown, CEO of Aaliyah's Motivation of Women. Tamla's pain is her motivation, which is also her battle cry. Join her in her leadership to bring awareness to fibromyalgia. Let's make a difference and bring the end to 24 hours, 365 days a year of pain. Tamla Morris Brown can be reached at 313-289-4090. That's 313-289-4090. Join her if you or somebody you know has fibromyalgia. Tamla, a soldier in pain.
Discover the truth.
Original, we the first to do it. And all these other nations are just our children. Even the pale skin was made in our image. Read the book of Ruth and check out your lineage. It's the melanin that gives us a dark complexion. That's a gene, no color separation. The Willie Lynch let it work too.
Hey, what's going on, people? Salutations. Welcome again to the Think Tank Show. You tuned in to the best station in the nation. This is TV 33 WHPR, and I'm your brother. And no other is your brother but me. And I'm your only brother from another mother. What's going on, y'all? I'm joined today with my sister Katrina Muhammad, and we are obligated to bring you some information, stimulate your thoughts, to get you in a particular mood and or paradigm that is coming upon you to think. And I know a lot of you is in the house right now because it was kind of warm outside and muggy and sticky, and you're going to watch the Think Tank Show today before you step out there when it cool off just a little bit. I ain't never met so many Africans scared of the sun in all my life, but you brothers and sisters know how to duck the sun. But, you know, I'm blessed. I'm grateful to be living in the times that I'm living in today because I'm able to witness some things that our forefathers wish they could have witnessed. I think they would be a little bit upset with some things, especially dealing with us. I don't think that they will be pointing the finger at what the so-called white man has done or is doing. I think it's more so about what it is we're not doing. And what we're not doing is we're not honoring the three men that's behind us. And I'm not talking about their honoring their image. I'm talking about honoring the message and the paradigm in which they came in. When you're talking about Noble Drew Ali, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the most honorable Marcus Moselle Garvey, you're talking about three powerhouse. You're talking about three power minds that was touched by a particular spirit, a particular mind that embodied us today, whether we be of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Nation of Islam, and or let's say the Marcus Garvey movement, the Black Panther Party Nation, the Republic of New Africa, the Shrine of the Black Madonna's Pan-African Orthodox Church, and the list goes on and on of our beloved brothers and sisters that are worthy of the things that is incumbent upon them for acting and moving in the light of these three great men. But at the same time, we have sisters that are great too. Sisters that left, that were trailblazers, that left their footprints clearly cut. And a lot of times they don't get the recognition that they're deserving of when we're talking about educating our people, and we're talking about the direction that they intended for our people to go to and go in. So when we talk about sisters like Harriet Tubman, and we talk about sisters like Sojourner Truth, and we're talking about sisters like Sister Tanetta Muhammad and Sister L. Morris, L, who just recently passed from Pontiac, Michigan, of Temple 43, Pontiac, Michigan. As a matter of fact, Sister L. Morris, L, her homegoing observation ceremony is tomorrow in Mount Clemens, Michigan. And I'm going to pull that information up for y'all so that y'all know where it's at. And because I know it's a lot of people out there that didn't know that Sister L. Morris L had passed, but she did. And the homegoing, and I received this from Sister Maxim Cook Bay, the celebration of the life, Saturday, July the 15th, 2017, United Memorial Funeral Home on 75th Dickinson Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan, 48043. Viewing of the body that housed that particular spirit and soul is at 10:30 to 11:30, and the homegoing ceremony, or what people are most familiar with being funerals, is from 11:30 until whenever the funeral concludes, and they go to whatever is the next phase in that particular celebration of that sister's life. So Sister L. Morris L. definitely has passed on. She has went to the next realm, and she is amongst the ancestors now, and her homegoing is tomorrow. Once again, it's tomorrow at the United Memorial Funeral Home on 75 Dickinson Street, Mount Clemens, Michigan. And the viewing is from 10:30 to 11:30, and the funeral is from 11:30 until the proceeding or the closing conclusion of that particular ceremony and the homegoing celebration. So when we talk about our women, our trailblazers, we look at those who were in the past. Sister Pearl Ali, Sister Dickinson Bay, I mean, the list goes on and on. Sister Christina Price Bay, and the list goes on and on of our sisters of the more struggled. Then we have Sister Tanetta Muhammad. We have the wives of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, including Sister Tanetta Muhammad. Then we have our sisters that's present with us today. We have Sister Katrina Muhammad. We have Sister Ava Muhammad, and the list goes on of our strong sisters in the Nation of Islam, as well as our strong sisters that's in the Moorish Science Temple of America, Sister Moore Bay of Temple 25, Sister Nunley Bay of Temple 13, and the list goes on and on. A lot of times we put our trailblazing brothers pictures up in our backdrop and our background, and and we rally behind these particular pictures. But understand this: for every strong brother, there was multitudes of strong sisters, because the sisters arguably is the ones that has been carrying our nation for a very long time. They are that particular best kept secret, but we understand that they need that recognition. And when I was able to start my particular TV show when I was incarcerated, every last one of my co-hosts and the people that has been my backbone of the Think Tank show from the time that it started, which was 2013, all the way up until today, has been sisters. And if those of you who know me and has been following the Think Tank show, we're talking about Sister Fatima Muhammad, we're talking about Sister Terrian, and we're talking about Sister Maxim Cook Bay, we're talking about Sister Sonia of Muhammad Mosque No. 1, we're talking about Sister Fatima Muhammad, Sister Katrina Muhammad of Muhammad Mosque No. 1 as well. So we have always been supported and held up, and actually the reason why the Think Tank show is still up and running is because of the sisters. So we have to always bear witness to the fact that Allah is not just a man when we're talking about from a testosterone level. He is also woman, because you can't have man without woman. I mean, you show me a man running around here, what phallus running around here that can give birth to a child, and then I'll tell you, okay, yeah, maybe you on to something. But every man, woman, child, what have you, that's on this particular planet Earth right now today that we know of has came through the womb of a woman. So when we talk about who is God and what is God, I always tell people Every time I have gotten in trouble, every time I was in these people's police precinct, there's only two people I called on: Allah and Mama, and they meant the same to me. It was no difference, because I know either one of them was gonna get me out of what I was in, and or give me the security that I needed in order to endure the punishment that I may have caused on myself because of my actions. So I'm elated to have strong sisters in my corner, strong sisters on my side, strong sisters in front of me, strong sisters in the back of me, all the way around. I'm just elated to have that, because I know that our very first teacher, and we talking about, it's not a prophet, there's not a Messiah, there's nobody that you can think of that you worship, idolize, honor, praise, what have you, whatever you want to say, that's in the Bible, the Quran, the Vesta, Avesta, I mean, whatever holy book that you turn to, the men and or the women that has given the knowledge that you read within these holy books was first taught by a woman in the womb of a woman. Even brother Jesus, that brother was taught by his mother Mary in the womb. As a matter of fact, Elihu and Salome took Mary and Elizabeth into the sacred groves in Egypt, into the schools, and was teaching them how to teach their children in the womb, or in the stomach, or in the belly of those particular vessels that they were in at that particular time, that enabled them to be able to grasp hold the divine wisdom that they was going to receive once they was on this particular planet. So with that, we definitely have a program where our sister Katrina Muhammad has some things that she wants to bring to us, that she wants to enlighten us with, that we're going to dialogue about. We're going to be able to you're going to be able to call in. You're going to be able, as a matter of fact, we're going to bring the telephone numbers up at the bottom of the screen, and you're going to be able to call in. The phone lines is going to be open, and you're going to call in. You're going to be able to chime in. You're going to be able to add, your proverbial 2 cents or $5 or whatever. Some people might not like the fact that I called they understanding or 2 cents, but your $5 to the table. But that's what we're going to do. What's going on, Sister Katrina Muhammad?
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Assalamu alaikum, viewers. All praises due to Allah. I'm going to be having the honor to speak this Sunday at Muhammad Mosque number 1. And I'm really excited about that opportunity. I thank Allah for that opportunity. My subject is going to be the woman. And I'm excited. I'm going to be reading something from Mother Tainetta Muhammad. I had the wonderful opportunity to come across many of her writings from Muhammad Speaks. This was the name of the Nation of Islam newspaper before it was changed to The Final Call. And the articles are dated from 1960 to 1967. She was writing weekly in the paper a column, The Women in Islam. And Mother Tainetta, let me tell you, I had a lot of respect for Mother Tainetta. I have a lot of respect for her, but I gained even more respect and a greater understanding when I read her articles, one after the other, because when you read a person's writings, as I'm an English major and I've shared that with you in the audience before, it really opens you up to understanding that person's mind and how they think and how they speak, the words they choose, to see them on the paper like that, to really parse each sentence that they wrote and to really break down the writing and examine it. It's just a whole nother level of study, and I have been doing that now since I discovered these writings from a friend of mine. Her parents were in the first generation, and they asked me to help clean out a storage unit, and Allah blessed me coincidentally. The parents kept all of these writings, newspapers, articles, all types of material from the first generation, from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as well as Mother Tynetta and others. And I'm just so grateful. So I'm speaking this Sunday. Please join me. I'm going to be talking about the woman, but I want to read something to the audience and then go into some current events, some things that's happening right now. And this is from Study Guide 19B, actually. And the audience knows I love to highlight a book every week, so this would be one of them. But 19B is entitled The Key to the Kingdom of God, and this was given out as a Savior's Day gift by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, February 26, 1997. And so he writes, well, actually, the introduction is what I'll be reading, which you mentioned our dear sister, student minister Ava Muhammad, who wrote the introduction and helped the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan put these study guides together. And so it reads, introduction, my mother knew she was in trouble. She went to God, Lord, help me. The more she prayed, all of her supplications and prayers were going on down into the womb. She was making me a man of God without even knowing what she was making. It was uncertain circumstances. Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm here to tell you, if you do not have a man, remember God. My mother did not know that the circumstances around which I was conceived in her womb would make me that man that I am today. Now, she wanted a girl. What does that mean? It means that she would make a child with characteristics that represent the feminine side of the nature of God. And that is mercy, compassion, forgiveness, long-suffering. It takes that kind of person to redeem a people in the condition that we are in. Stated or quoted by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So Minister Ava, Student Minister Ava writes, the only value of my introduction to this phase of the course lies in the moment that it provides. The moment is that brief pause when the student recognizes the magnitude of what is being taught. I open with the excerpt from Minister Farrakhan's historic address to women only in Atlanta of 1994, and I highly recommend that you order that tape, sisters. If you don't have that tape, it's phenomenal, it's amazing, so please order it through the final call. But she goes on to say, because in a few words it offers profound insight into the teacher as well as the subject. After transcribing the message which forms the text of Study Guide 19B, I realized that we, male and female, in our ignorance have relegated the words, a nation can rise no higher than its woman, to a motto. In reality, it's divine law. And I think that's profound, what she said, and I'll skip to this last part, and then we can have some conversation, and I'd love to hear from our callers today. She wrote, I sincerely hope that men as well as women will appreciate the wonderful opportunity for growth and change that is contained in this study. We have been severely handicapped as a people because of the woman's absence from the deliberative process in government, business, education, and especially religion. We have not been able to benefit from the intelligence and problem-solving skills of more than half of our population. The most insidious self-inflicted injury has been the resistance to hearing the word of God through the female. We must take heed to the minister's words. And the last part of that are the minister's words where he stated, the world is in trouble because the world has no respect for woman. And if the world has no respect for woman, the world has no respect for God. When you respect God, you must respect woman because the womb of the woman is a place of sacredness. Woman should be held in awe because of the majesty of her womb. When God and woman cooperate, Jesus comes forth, Moses comes forth, Abraham comes forth. But when women are estranged from God, then the womb produces a bitter fruit. The woman must be reconnected to God so that the fruit of her womb will once again be the kings, the rulers, the masters of every discipline, whether male or female. These are the fruits of God. This is so phenomenal and important to me, Brother Sutton Bay, because I think that's what we're seeing in the world today. I mean, in the news, Okay, so I have to get to it. I have to jump into it.
Okay,
If you-
well, we got
in the news.
You got to get into the news.
The bombshell,
Right.
the bombshell news announcement today,
Right.
which is going to be very interesting to see what happens, is that on June 3rd, there was an email, June 3rd of 2016. There was an email that was sent to Donald Trump Jr. Regarding negative intel on Hillary Clinton at the time the campaign was in the heat of the moment. Like it was just, the last final few months of the campaign, right? Before the actual election day. And the email subject line said, Russia, Clinton, confidential, private, something to that extent.
Oh, yeah?
And when he clicked on the email, and this email came from a friend of his, the email talked about the ability to introduce him to a high-level government, Russian government official that had negative information and background intel on Clinton that can change the campaign and help his father win the election. Donald Trump Jr. responds to this email by saying, "Great, I love it." And then he says it would be great if that information can come out in the late summer. So he not only affirms that in his response on the email that he understands what this material is, but he'd love to receive it, and he'd love if this information can somehow be leaked out at the end of the summer. Perfect timing for the campaign, right? And so from there was a phone call based on from this email saying, yes, I want to meet this woman, or he didn't know it was a woman at the time, but I want to meet this high-level government, official. There was a phone call around the time of June 4th or 5th, and then the actual meeting took place June 9th. Now, before the meeting took place, on June 7th, 2 days before the meeting, Donald Trump Sr., who's the president of the United States.
Is he?
Yeah, I'm not going to say he's my president. I'm going to say he's the president of the United States.
Somebody told me he was the president of the United Snakes of America.
United Snakes, yes.
That's
I would
what somebody
say,
told
I would
me.
agree with that.
I didn't know there were United Snakes over
You
here.
didn't know? So let's
No.
break it down. Let me help you understand. All
wouldn't
these people are
dare
snakes
say
right
that.
here. So 2 days before this meeting was to occur, Donald Trump Sr. makes a public announcement saying that he has some salacious information on Hillary Clinton that's going to change the campaign. Just stay tuned. He's going to be making this announcement. I mean, it's good, and it's a bombshell. He says this on June 7th. This meeting from the email on June 3rd takes place on June 9th. Now, guess who's in the meeting? Who's in the meeting is Donald Trump Jr., Kushner, who's a senior advisor, I should say, to Donald Trump Sr., which is a high-level position. You have to get a national security clearance to be in that position, okay? Manafort, who was the campaign, chief campaign organizer or what have you, right? He was an older guy who was, I think, paid $17 million for that position, being the chief of the chief of the campaign for Trump at that time. And then a woman named Natalia, and she's got a very long Russian last name, so I'm not even going to pretend to try to attempt to pronounce her name. We'll just call her Natalia because that was her first name.
Natalia, the Russian.
Natalia, the Russian, who drinks a lot of vodka.
Wow.
So, wow, yeah, probably. So, and then it's reported that she is an attorney for Russia, that she's one of their official attorneys, and she works for the government, the government of Russia. Now, initially they claimed this meeting was about adopting Russian babies. What a distraction babies can be to people. Look, a Russian adopt a Russian baby.
Pun intended.
I'm just saying. So that's what they initially claimed. And then when they get in the meeting, of course, Donald Trump Jr. is there because he's like, okay, what's this information on Clinton? In the process of him waiting for this salacious information to be dropped about Clinton, this Natalia woman starts talking about the sanctions that President Obama at that time had placed against Russia that's caused them to lose billions of dollars, right? So she's talking about these sanctions and how these sanctions need to be removed and what have you. I guess the meeting ends. I'm not sure how long the meeting takes, but check out what was going on. First of all, the day of that meeting, it occurred in Trump Tower. And the time frame of that meeting actually was pushed back by 1 hour, which coincidentally falls in line with Trump Sr., the president, his schedule. And when we look at the president's schedule, there are approximately 3 hours of time that are unaccounted for in his schedule. And the president his schedule is made public, right? He has to, all of his meetings, all of that is public record. Where he is at all times, who he's talking to, who he's meeting with, all of that is public record. Well, on that particular day, 3 hours of his time, and this is the candidate. He's the candidate, Trump, at this time. He's not the president, but even the candidates, their whole entire schedule is made public. 3 hours of his time is unaccounted for. And also he's in the Trump Tower as well. He's in the building. So he's not in another city. He's in the building. Now, he's standing firm that he did not go to this meeting, that he was not there. He didn't even know anything about it. He just found out about it. Of course, all the data has now come out that his attorneys knew 3 weeks ago. So there's a mixed match here in terms of, what do you mean you just found out? How is it your attorneys knew something 3 weeks ago, but you didn't know? And your son and your son-in-law, his son-in-law Kushner, by the way, was in this meeting, right? Also knew, but you didn't know. And these are the closest people to you. Okay, so it gets even juicier, right? So
it can't get any juicier.
Yes, check this out. So the New York Times gets this scoop.
And I don't even have a bib.
I'm trying to tell you. The New York Times gets this scoop of what's going on. They call Donald Trump Jr. and says, look, we've got these emails. We know you had this meeting. We're going to be breaking this story. Do you have a comment? Which is what news organizations do, right? Donald Trump Jr. says, I don't have a comment. Give me a little time. I'll call you back. What time are you breaking this story? They said 12 o'clock or something like that, right? So literally minutes before the time that they were going to release this story online through their news outlets online, he releases it through Twitter. And he releases the email through Twitter and makes a comment through Twitter about this meeting and the fact that he had this meeting and all this stuff. So
God bless Twitter.
God bless Twitter. So then his father comes on when he's finally speaks about it. He says, yes, I'm so proud of my son, Donald Trump Jr., for being transparent in revealing that he had this meeting. The problem here is this was a year ago. Your son wasn't transparent in indicating that this happened. He only revealed all this information through Twitter once the New York Times called him and told him, we have your emails. Someone sent them to us, and we're going to release them. So he basically released them.
Masters of manipulation.
Yes, he released them before New York Times did. Okay, so let's move forward. Here's where the really salacious part comes in.
So who?
Salacious.
There she go again.
There I go again with those words. So Kushner, who is this son-in-law of Trump, who's also a senior advisor to Trump, had to fill out a National Security Agency form in order to get the clearance for the position that he's in. Mm-hmm. This form, by the way, is online. It's a very serious form. You're supposed to document all foreign people you've spoken with, had meetings with, countries you've visited, all of that. They want to know all of that. And they, meaning the FBI, right? And why do they want to know this? They want to know it for their national security purposes and reasons, and to make sure and understand that you're not a spy or anything like that, right? Okay. So once you fill out the form online, the next process is a retired FBI agent contacts you and goes over the form with you line by line. And by the way, throughout this form, it states that you have to sign and check off that everything that you have written in the form is correct. Otherwise, you're committing perjury. Mm-hmm. So it's made very clear that if you do not fill out this form correctly, that you're actually committing a crime and a felony. It says that in the form. And so to make sure you make no mistakes.
So somebody finna go to jail, right?
This is what I'm wondering.
Nah.
So to make sure you make no mistakes, they send a retired FBI agent, comes to you face to face, goes over the form that you filled out and say, oh, okay, did you write that? Okay. Are you sure any other names you want to include? Okay. Did you visit this country? And are there any other countries you want to include? So literally line by line, this agent goes through the form with you to certify your answers and to make sure that you have no other additional names or countries to put down. Right? So you would think we're all good. Well, Kushner has now amended this form 3 times.
Hold on. Amended that particular form?
Yes.
So there is a loophole in there that they was able to protect themselves with through amendment.
Through amendment. Now, the normal process, listen to this. The normal process is people do have to make amendments, but it's expected you would probably have to make 1 amendment, right? Just one time you'd have to go back.
How many did he do?
3. And then maybe you left off a name or
1
2.
strike, 2 strikes, 3 strikes, you're supposed to be out. So somebody going to jail, right?
Maybe you left off a name or 2. Guess how many names he amended and additional names he added that he somehow forgot to include on this form?
A politician? They don't lie that much. So I would say maybe once. Just 1.
Yeah, over 100 names.
No, I had to put 2 zeros behind that 1.
Over 100 names.
Not a politician.
Yes.
No.
And so to this day, this very moment, as we're speaking, 2 additional names, or 1 name, the other one is unnamed. We don't know who the other one is. But it turns out that there were more people in that room than the 4 people that were initially
caller.
listed.
I hear you. I see you calling, caller. Hold on. Hold your spot. We're going to get to you.
So why am I saying all this? I'm saying all this because when you look at the mix, I mean, think about what I just read and think about what we're talking about now. Nowhere in this do you see the woman anywhere. These are all men, all white men making these decisions, making these errors in judgment, and then white men forgiving them and saying, oh, you need to amend the form. Oh, you need to amend the form 3 times. No problem. Oh, you need to add 100 names. No problem. Would this happen if it was a black man? Definitely not. He would have been going to jail.
Obama would have been in jail
immediately.
2010.
But I don't see the woman anywhere in this. And then let's take the caller, and then I'll tell the rest of what's going on.
Caller, you're on the air with the Think Tank Show. Please state your name and what city you calling from. We'll get some volume on this.
This is Brother Alonzo, and I'm calling you from Dallas, Texas.
Dallas, Texas.
Sitting in my high-rise office enjoying the program.
Thank you. All praises due to Allah.
Well, listen, the sister was breaking it down pretty
Hold on for a minute. Hold on with your question for a hot second, please.
I always thought it was strange, number one, that this whole Trinity.
Brother, can you hear me? Brother, can you? Hello, excuse me, caller. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I need you to start over. I couldn't hear you from the beginning. Start over, please.
Oh, okay. What I was saying was the sister was breaking it down pretty nicely there, and that's exactly kind of what I wanted to ride on there. I always thought, number one, that it was strange that you would have in the Godhead, God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Ghost, and they're all males. Mm-hmm. And it just totally violates every single principle of science that we are aware of. Mm-hmm. Regarding the idea of creation. You must have the male and the female in everything. And I think that a woman by herself, when she's running the show by herself, she creates confusion. The man by himself creates nothing. You have to have both together. But I wanted to point out that I thought it was ironic that during the election process, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said something, and he said it on a number of occasions, and I made a special note. He said is that both of them, Hillary and Trump, were going to be bad for America, but as Trump got in there, he was going to take America to hell on a rocket ship. Do you guys
yes.
remember him saying that?
Yes,
yeah,
sir.
I mean, all he was saying was America going to hell, but with him it's just a little bit faster.
And it's only been 5 months in the Trump campaign, and we are on 4 investigations, 4 different separate investigations.
That's the exact point, that America has not had peace from day one. Now, the irony of the whole thing, to me, is the fact that they lambasted, raped President Obama and his wife and family over the coals for 8 years.
Yes.
And I was thinking of the Bible story about how that God was trying to give them somebody that was after his heart to lead them. And the people said, no, we want our own. So he said, okay, I'm going to give you one that's gonna waste you. And it appears to me that that's exactly what's happening, that America has rejected an honorable man, a classy man with a classy wife, classy children, you know, an upstanding individual, and has literally put in this office a pig in terms of nature.
Right.
And it's just strangely ironic to me, and I just wanted to say what the sister was saying about, you know, all the details about what's going on. They haven't had peace since, and I think it's only going to get worse.
Yes, sir. Well, it's gotten worse because it has now been revealed that we don't know about that fifth person. We're still trying to figure out who that person is. But the sixth person who was in the room was claimed to be a translator. However, this person doesn't speak English. And then on top of that,
Hold on. A translator that doesn't speak English.
Yes.
So how the hell are they gonna translate?
Good question. And then this actually, I think that was the fifth person, but they haven't identified a name for that person. But the sixth person, that person's name is Renat Akmanson. Renat, we'll just say Renat, R-I-N-A-T. Now, that person used to work in the counterintelligence agency of Russia. So they actually worked for the government. And on top of that, they're Russian born. They have a dual citizenship, and they're currently a lobbyist for Russia. And they have actually lobbied for Russia-centered, Russia-focused, Russia concerns and interests over the concerns and interests of the United States. This person is very well known in the D.C. area. So why would this person be in the room in a meeting with Kushner, the senior advisor to the president, with Manafort, the chief campaign officer, with Donald Trump Jr., who is, you know, he worked as a senior advisor in the campaign as well, and obviously the president's or the candidate's son. He was the candidate at that time. The candidate's son. Why would these people all be in the room? And then, so 'cause just by even having the meeting, they were committing treason and a crime.
Treason, yeah.
Just by even being in the room with those people.
Hold on. But treason, the punishment for treason is death, right? The punishment of treason is death. We ain't talking about just getting a jail cell. We talking about that's death, right?
Protect the country.
Oh, he must can't hear me.
Their enemy, Russia.
Right.
And Trump was leading the charge to this whole thing, and you know, it's just ironic that the one that they accused for 8 years of treason and not being an American was protecting the country from this very enemy that Trump is conspiring with.
Exactly.
And lastly, I wanted to say this.
What you talking about? Hold on. For a second. You talking about what is his name? Snowden? No, not Snowden. What is the Caucasian boy name? They got
WikiLeaks?
Russia.
Yeah. He got amnesty over. Or he got
Snowden. Yeah, it was Snowden.
Mm-hmm.
So are you trying to tell me that what Donald Trump's son and the rest of them did is actually equivalent to what Snowden did, and treason is punishable by what?
Supposed to be death.
Well, treason is when you betray your own government, your own people.
What is it punished?
That's treason.
What is the punishment for treason?
Well, I'm not sure I think they impeach him, but I'm not sure what the punishment is in terms of their laws, the American laws. I
thought it was death.
But I know what I consider the punishment for treason is.
I thought it was death.
Well, that would be the punishment for treason because it's such an egregious betrayal. It's such an egregious betrayal that there's nothing left of a person's humanity. But I want to say that there's a challenge coming for us as black people in this whole scenario that I think a lot of us are missing. And because we're so microcosmic, you know, everybody's sitting around their own little tribe in Dallas, in Detroit, in Hattiesburg, or wherever it's happening to be. And we're all tribalized and educated. As a result of that, there are these tribal leaders among us, many of whom have been betraying us and treating us towards us for a long, long time. And then there's those who are coming up behind them who are even more treasonous. And it just behooves us to really begin to listen to what Minister Farrakhan is saying about looking upon ourselves and looking within and pulling up that righteous nature of ours and begin to function as a nation.
That's right.
So that's what I want to say. I'm to me, these are happy times because I see opportunity.
Yes, sir.
And so that I just want to say that. I appreciate you taking my call.
Thank you. Thank you for
Appreciate
calling.
you calling, brother. Make sure that you keep locking into us and watch us again next week, same place, same time. Appreciate that, brother.
So to his point, that's why I have this wonderful paper pulled up, the final call. And this one was from July 11th, Black Girls Still Under Fire. It's an excellent, one of the best newspapers you'll ever see on the planet. And in the back of it, this is why, I'm reading this. I want the audience to know it's not about, joining the Nation of Islam or any of that, right, Brother Sutton Bay? It is about us coming together, unifying. That's why we do this show.
That's
and so
exactly
when
why
you
we
look
do it.
on the back of the final call, it's very clear what Muslims have been asking for, what we believe in. And it's entitled, What the Muslims Want, What the Muslims Believe. And there's a couple of, just 2 or 3 I want to read very quickly. Number 2, and this is from the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Number 2, we want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed or class or color. So if Kushner broke the law
Read that again.
and is a felon, he committed a felony.
Make sure you read that again.
Let me read this again. Number 2, we want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed or class or color.
See, people have to always
How is it?
remember that they take the things that they want to utilize to make it seem as though that the Nation of Islam is a hate group, or
Right.
they're demonizing a particular nationality, et cetera, but they don't point out things like that.
Right.
It says for all.
For all.
Because everybody is not receiving equal justice.
Exactly. People
I
don't
care
understand-
what your religion, your creed, your
Right.
color, your nationality is here in this
I mean,
country.
if we know, and by the way, they've stated on television, on all the shows, that anyone else that did not complete that form out correctly, this national security form to get high national security clearance, the one that Kushner has now amended 3 times, just by not filling that form out correctly one time, you have committed perjury, you have committed a felony, your national security clearance would be immediately revoked until it's amended, until there's an investigation, until they have determined that, you're on the up and up, and you know what, you're now being honest with this new amended version of the form.
So
that's
one
what
of
they
those-
normally do.
So that's one of those go straight to jail, no pass go.
Right, like they don't play around with this. This is a very serious thing. So the fact that
But they're playing around with it now.
yes, because he still has his national security clearance.
Are
That has
y'all
not been
listening?
revoked.
Are y'all listening, people?
And guess what? He's the son-in-law of the president. So, I mean, there's nepotism here. There's intertwining relationship here. And at the end of the day, there's this white boy covering another white boy thing going on here that is not equal justice under the law. People want to complain and say whatever they want to say about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad. But is this statement not fair? This statement is fair. The statement is essentially saying we want justice, equal justice under the law. We want justice applied equally to all, regardless of creed or class or color. That is fair. Okay, so the next one I want to read. This is number 4. We want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves
Hold on, caller.
to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of their own, either on this continent or elsewhere. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 to 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs. Since we cannot get along with them in peace and equality after giving them 400 years of our sweat and blood and receiving in return some of the worst treatment human beings have ever experienced, we believe our contributions to this land and the suffering forced upon us by white America justifies our demand for complete separation in a state or territory of our own. So if you can't treat us equally, well then let us go. Give us our own stuff. We're good. You have your area, we'll have ours, and we're going to make sure we give justice to ourselves.
Okay, we got another caller. We're going to take this call. Caller, you're on the air with the Think Tank Show. Please state your name and what city you calling from.
Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
This is Brother Kamos Muhammad calling from Baltimore, Maryland.
Yes, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yes, I'm enjoying the show. And, you know, as I'm calling in and I'm watching, I find it of no coincidence as you have this topic before us this afternoon that you have these three great men behind you, these photographs of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and the Honorable Noble Drew Ali. In some circles, these men are considered to be the master's grip. For those who may travel in the lanes of Prince Hall, they know what I'm talking about.
I hear you.
And so, but in short, these three men brought to us as a people programs and information, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding that gives us the capacity and the ability to be a true and free people, to be a sovereign people. And so the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad certainly gave us a program that gives us the capacity to separate, to develop, to have our own nation. The Honorable Marcus Garvey gave us the ability to define governance and sovereignty. The Noble Drew Ali gave us the understanding of law, international law, information. And this is what we see the Moors doing and talking about today. What would it be if we could but understand as a nation of people the great wisdom that these three men, not to mention the other great worthies among us, but just these three men, if we were to gather that information and be able to learn from it and develop ourselves into a true and free people, what would that look like today? All that is happening is exactly what the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is telling us, which is that God is moving his people because we won't move ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
What we're seeing taking place before us is a continued realization and a continued visualization before us of what must be done. It is up to us now to do what we need to do to ensure that we are a safe and free people. If not, we will suffer the consequences as we've been told. I want to just get some feedback on that, and I did want to comment on what you were talking about earlier in reference to the woman as well.
You are absolutely correct. That's why I was reading what the Muslims want, because we have to come to a realization that we've been going along with their program now all this entire time. We have now had a black president, a very good one, who's had an entire 8 years with no scandal. That has never happened before, by the way, in terms of having a president of this country, the United States, with no scandal the entire 8 years.
Hold on. Say that one more again.
No scandal. Not with him, not with his wife, not with his children, family, his administration. No scandal.
And he didn't get nothing on no lady's dress in the Oval Office or any of that.
Exactly. So I think a lot of black people were waiting for, I don't know, things will somehow get better if we have a black president. And so now we've had that black president, and that things have not changed. And you're right, Mr. Muhammad, that let's look at the three people that are behind us, and let's take a second look at their program of what they have been put out there and asked us to do as black people, to say, okay, let's do this. Let's do for self. Are you ready now? How much more do you want to take from your enemy? Can't you see? Can't you see he treats you differently than he treats his friend, his son, his neighbor? I mean, they get a whole different kind of treatment than what we get. So you're absolutely correct. But for some reason, this information on the back of this paper here, what the Muslims want, what the Muslims believe, people still either do not understand it or do not agree with it. I'm not really sure where the gap is, what is going on here. Maybe they need to read this book, right? I brought my books today, Closing the Gap. Maybe that's what they need to read to get a better understanding, or they need to read this book, The Fall of America. These are my books today, because the average individual, no, they don't get it, and we are still separate, and we have to come out of that. But the question is how and when, because if we don't, and we don't do it quickly, yes, the fall of America is happening, and those who don't separate from that will fall right with it, and that includes some of our people. And that's what is so sad to me about the situation, is that many of our people are going to get caught up in this fall of America and fall right down the tubes with it, because they have not stepped away and taken a second look at these three wonderful, great gods behind us to say, okay, I need to do something different. for myself and my family.
You know, and when we look at the teachings of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and you know, that's where I come from as far as my philosophical, religious, spiritual ideologies is concerned. It's the Moorish Science Temple of America, but I'm also influenced by the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and Marcus Mosiel Garvey. But one of the things that I understand about Prophet Noble Drew Ali is that he taught us that we need to understand who we are. Know thyself. And once we understand that, knowing thyself, then we understand that there's no shame in wanting your own. Because when you want your own, then you're claiming what's rightfully yours. All of this belongs to us. However, when we say that we want our own land, we want to be separated, we want to live amongst ourselves, we want to live amongst Muslims and or Muslims, however you want to articulate that particular word, we want to be free. Justice, equality, Islam, love, truth, peace, freedom, and free. That's free. All that spells out the same thing. We want complete autonomy, freedom. We deserve that. But when we ask for certain things like just our own land and separation, our own government, I arguably say that we don't need to ask for a damn thing. We need to just take it. And I'm not talking about by brute force. I'm not talking about with no guns. I'm not talking about with no bombs, none of that. I'm not talking about going the enemy's way. I'm talking about through just straight up intelligence, economics, social, and political wisdom, and just get what belongs to us, like you have the Amish, the Mormons, and the list goes on and on of predominantly Caucasian groups that's out there that have their own land, have their own government, arguably, have their own religious system, and then the municipalities around them don't even bother them. So why is it that when we ask for these things, or we say that this is what we want and this is what we demand, why do we have to be racist? Why do we have to be separatists? But when you have all these other groups out here that has been living like this for hundreds of years or 100 years or better, right here in the United States of America, but yet when we finally get an opportunity to get our own and request our own or petition our own, we have to be living this racist or reverse racist lifestyle. That's not the fact. The fact of the matter is, we in Rome, but we don't want to do what the Romans do. We want to be in God's land and do what God commands us to do in order for us to elevate humanity, until us as a people, we start educating ourselves and we start moving in the wisdom that is given to us through education, proper education, should I say, because not all education is healthy. Not all education is proper, because you have some education that is not doing, it's cloaked under the name education, but it's nothing but enslavement. It's nothing but dumbing down a nation of people.
Miseducation,
miseducation.
Like Lauryn Hill
exactly.
said.
Exactly. So when we look at the teachings of Prophet Noble Drew Ali through the Moorish Science Temple of America, then the Nation of Islam and the UNIA, Marcus Mosiel Garvey, and when we look at these things and we bring them to the melting pot, we bring them to the table, then we'll understand that the political system that we're keeping an eye on and the politicians that we're keeping an eye on is obsolete. We don't need them. We don't give a damn about them, because they don't give a damn about them. It's obviously that they don't care about us, because they put Kwame Kilpatrick in prison for 28 years for the very same thing that John Engler did for 12 years through his tenure as the governor of the state of Michigan. All you got to do is go research some of the underhanded stuff that John Engler was involved in as the governor of the state of Michigan, and then you go back and you look at what they convicted Kwame Kilpatrick for and sent him to prison for, him and Ferguson, and you will say, well, in the eyes of what John Engler done versus what Kwame Kilpatrick and Ferguson allegedly had done, because as far as I'm concerned, it's still alleged. I mean, you want to say that they're guilty, that's fine, but they still was Boy Scouts in comparison to John Engler. Then when we look at the big boys, Donald Trump, Bush,
son-in-law,
Clinton, Kushner,
Donald Jr.
The list goes on and on.
And there's evidence. Now,
man.
what's so salacious about this is that there's an email, right? An email's in writing. It's an electronic record dated timestamp, the whole deal. So now they can no longer claim, oh, well, this is just fake news or this
And it was
didn't happen.
it was just the email that got it started for Kwame.
It was but now it's the email with Donald Trump Jr. But nothing is
ain't
happening.
Nobody going to jail.
No one's been arrested. There are no indictments. No one has even gotten their security clearance revoked. But we don't have a lot of time.
It was just
let's hear what the brother.
It was a love text message that got Kwame caught up, right?
Exactly. Let's hear what the brother has to say about the last part.
We only got 2 minutes,
woman.
brother. You definitely got to make it quick.
Yes, indeed.
I'm a motor mouth. You got to forgive me, brother.
This is a big conversation. I did want to quickly say that in terms of, brother, of what you were saying, we as a people must understand one thing, if nothing else. We're at the point of pure survival. Yeah. So whatever small, petty things might seem to be in the way are meaningless. We need to get those out of the way. We need to build. And what these other people do that we're not doing is they love themselves enough to maintain and to develop and build environments and communities, real communities, not just places where people live, but where people engage each other in all aspects of life. But in terms of the woman, as Sister was saying, it's very important that we understand the depth of the woman. And many of us as men, thank God for the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, who is teaching us, because we're not born here knowing about the woman. We've been taught and trained, in particular as black men, to disrespect our women because our women has been disrespected by our enemies. And we now have to unlearn these behaviors and become better men. And surely, as our sisters are growing and developing, and we are too, we, both of us, male and female, need to turn away from those things that we've been taught and trained through the process of slavery and other, that we become a better people and raise better children for the future. So I thank you all for allowing me this time on your show.
And you know, anytime, brother, call in, tune in to us next week, same place, same time. But in the words of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we must have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. That's a fact. So that's just what it is, and that is the fabric of who we are as Moorish Americans over here in the United States of America. And, a lot of brothers, they know I'm a little bit unorthodox. Sometimes I come in, I don't wear my fez, I put my baseball cap on, I have my T-shirt on, my top 10s on. That's just Detroit. Who I am. I'm just a D-boy, that's just what I am. But, I enjoyed y'all. I appreciate everybody that called in. Hey, look, we definitely got to revisit this because our people deserve this type of information.
For sure.
This is the Think Tank Show. It's not something for us. It's not vanity. It's not about ego. It's about us actually getting our people to think. That's the purpose
and
of
having a real conversation that is going to help people think about things a little bit differently, help people think about today the woman differently.
That's right.
And this role of this whole lack of seeing women in government or anywhere, and look at the fallout from that, right? Look at the effect. So now you're looking at Donald Trump Jr. I mean, where's his mother? Where are the women in their family that is saying, you know what, that's not such a good idea.
They're making America great again.
Is that what they're doing?
They're making it great again.
Good luck with that, because I'm showing you right now the fall of America. We gotta go. Read this book, The Final Call. Thank you for joining us.
In the words of our brother, most honorable Marcus Brazil Garvey, up you mighty people, up you mighty race, and accomplish what you will. Salutations, salute my brothers and sisters. See y'all next week right here at the Think Tank Show every Friday from 5 to 6.